Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 9th of September, comes to you from London. And big falls again in stocks last night, especially on the Nasdaq. We'll start by looking at the dollar. It's continuing to rise on the short-term chart, so looking more bullish on the short term, and that means the euro has fallen back. Having nudged 120, we're now back at 117.5. So we are just seeing that short-term bearishness on the euro playing through, dollar strength coming through. The yen against the dollar, we're seeing a dollar holding 106 yen, and sterling is back below the 130 level, so it has fallen quite significantly over the last few days to 129. So we are just seeing sterling. No clear downside targets now on the short-term chart, but the fact is we are bearish below the cloud. And looking at euro against sterling against euro, we're below that 110 level. So we are just falling away steadily there. So sterling has been hit on Brexit fears this week. Taking a look at Bitcoin, sitting at $10,100. So in the doldrums now around this $10,000 level, having fallen away from the $12,000 mark, and just putting us into the prices into potentially bearish territory, but not yet the lagging line. So we're still bullish on the longer term view on Bitcoin. Looking at the S&P 500 index, the big question here is this the beginning of a collapse, or is it just a retracement? Are we just seeing a pullback in the trend? So it'd be very interesting to see how we open today. The futures are suggesting we will open higher. We will see some respite from this sell-off. The long-term targets are still to the upside, the medium-term targets to the upside, but the short-term is to the downside. What we really have to watch for is a recovery and then a push lower. That will activate downside targets created from these columns. So that's the thing to really watch for. The Nasdaq we saw yesterday again fell quite heavily, and we did sort of seesaw through the day. We did get down to nearly 11,000. So quite key here that we are looking for a recovery there. And the Dow sitting also was down yesterday quite heavily as well. The futures today, we've got the S&P future up just under 0.75%, and the Nasdaq E-mini is up nearly 2%. So it does suggest that we will see a recovery at the open today. And the VIX volatility has dropped back a little bit, but we did pop up earlier in the week, and we are sitting in the 30s, so that's quite significant there. In the UK, the FTSE future is up 0.8%, and in Germany the DAX is up by a similar amount, and the CAC 40 is up just under 0.5%. So we are seeing just Europe recovering there. Asia overnight hasn't had the benefit of the US futures, so we saw the Nikkei down just under 1%, the Hang Seng down 0.6%, and the Chinese market down a further 2%. So it's had a pretty bad week, and we're seeing that we're bearish here in the short term. There is quite strong resistance here at around 3,500 on the Shanghai Composite. The key thing is, will we hold the lows that we saw in July? But for the moment, it's bullish long term, bearish short term. And if we look at the Sensex, we are seeing 0.5% fall there as well, and the Aussie market was down heavily, down 2%. Taking a look at gold, we're sitting at 1922 this morning, just starting to wander out of this downtrend. Of course, any more volatility, we would expect to see gold to be a beneficiary. Stronger dollar hasn't helped gold rise for the moment, and silver sitting at 26.50. Again, looking strong on the long-term charts, but short-term we're just seeing a little bit of bearishness. US 10-year yields sitting steady at 0.2%. Taking a look at just some of the majors here, Apple, we're seeing here that Amazon, lots of these stocks falling below the cloud, and if you look at Google and Microsoft. Microsoft has seen a high of 233 down to 202, so that's nearly a 15% fall away there. So that's been pretty aggressive for Microsoft. Taking a look at the energy mix now, we've got Brent crude back above the $40 level, but in a quite severe downtrend this last week, and we have activated this downside target now to 36.60. And no clear signs of any strong upside targets. If we look at WTI, It's a similar picture, of course. We're in a downtrend here. Downside target to 33. That's still 11% lower than here. US nat gas falling back to $2.40. So we are just seeing a little bit of a reversal in this trend. So that's quite key as well. And if we look at coal, we're sitting 0.5% up this morning. So we have actually bounced on the long-term chart on the lagging line. So coal still hanging on to its recovery, but has retraced quite a bit of that recovery. Emissions, quite a clear picture here. Actually, we're in a short-term downtrend. Long-term, we're still bullish. Here's the levels. If we look at emissions, we've got 30 as resistance, 30 euros as resistance, and 25 as support. So a break above 30 is bullish, a break below 25 is bearish. That's the name of the game, basically, and we just have to watch for that on the long term. Shorter term does look like we are going lower, back to the support level. We do have a downside target here that would take us outside the support level, but for the moment, we're looking more at that 25 mark. MBP was actually one of our bullish calls this week, and it is holding up remarkably well, actually, given the route and many other things. TTF is sitting lower, and we have just seen that they're breaking we're breaking the short-term cloud trend there with some downside targets. We were neutral TTF because that was a harder call than MBP. And looking at winter gas, we are just seeing now that falling away as well. German power is holding on to the 40 euro mark. As with emissions, we've got a trading range here. We've got around 39, 38.75, and then on the upside area, it's around 43.50. That's the range. We break higher, we go higher. Long term, we break lower, we go lower. So these are the levels to watch. But for the moment, we've got quite a few downside targets. Does suggest we will struggle to hold 40 euros in the coming days. A lot depends on what we see happening in the stocks, of course. The VIX volatility and the Nasdaq stocks, very big sentiment indicators for markets as a whole. So keep an eye out on those. If you're really trading those, take an eye on the 1 minute chart and just keep watching that real time. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.